you. And I want to start by apologizing to all of you because today's segments are kind of out of order. And they're out of order because Goldman is such a great organizer. She asked me to come here, and I'm actually leaving immediately after to go meet my in-laws for vacation. And so I'm going first, but I shouldn't be going first. Because what I'm going to talk about is how to deliver your message. And I really want to talk about it in the context of political campaigns or in the commercial context as well. But later you're going to hear about how to actually develop the message, which really should come first. So take what I say here and sort of put it on the back burner to think about, as you hear from folks later, about developing the message. But what I want to talk about is how to actually get a message to the grassroots and how to use a large number of volunteers and people in neighborhoods to deliver an effective message to ultimately have an impact on changing people's hearts, changing people's minds, and motivating them to take action in some way. But first I want to make a case for why this matters. And I want to call you to a couple of quick slides that are actually in a sort of marketing context. And the question here is asked of people, do you sometimes or always take action based on these channels? And oftentimes we think about consumer behavior based on direct marketing and based on traditional forms of media like television ads. But in fact, when you ask people how they make decisions about what products they buy, they make those decisions first and foremost by understanding people they know and trust and listening to those recommendations. But when we think about how companies or how political campaigns or political parties spend their money, sometimes we wonder if it makes any sense. And this is from some studies in the corporate world about how advertising money is spent. It is incongruous with the last slide. Now, in the political campaign context, you'll see something very similar, which is when you actually, in my mind, when you want to find out somebody's values, how they think things work, you look at their budget. And oftentimes in political campaigns in the States and across the world, those budgets don't reflect the belief that we could actually move people to action, to turn out to vote if they weren't going to turn out to vote, that they support you, or to be persuaded based on a belief in grassroots campaigning. So I want to talk about my experience on the Obama campaign, both in 2008 and 2012, and how this dynamic has changed, and what I think it means for the context that you're talking about. And you're going to hear a little bit more later from folks about some of these other forms of communication. I want to be very clear at the beginning here. One of the things that people ask me often after the Obama campaigns is, what's the silver bullet? What's the quick thing that I can do in my country or in my context to get a lot of people to come on board, be supportive, and ultimately make a massive change? There is no secret sauce. It is a myth that there's just some simple thing that you can do, or if you do what I talk about here, you'll win elections. In fact, in my mind, it's all about integration. And you're going to hear later from Teddy to talk about how important getting the message out in the digital context is. I'm going to touch on it a little bit. You're going to hear later about how important it is in terms of television, advertising, in terms of other forms of communication. But what I want to focus on specifically is person-to-person direct communication. In the marketing context, I call it grassroots marketing. And in the political context, it's often called field, or what I prefer to call organizing. And I want to make that case for you in a couple of different points. The first is, I believe you have to build, if you want to communicate your message, we're talking about political communication here, if you want to communicate your message to millions of voters and get that message to them from the grassroots, you have to actually build a structure and an organization that goes to scale. And what do I mean by that? On the presidential campaign in 2008 and 2012, we took the country, we took the United States, And we first started by looking at where are, in our context, the way that we elect presidents is, sometimes doesn't make as much sense. But we have these states, battleground states, and we would put our efforts there. And then within each battleground state, what we were trying to do was run a neighborhood-based campaign, a national campaign at the neighborhood level. Or another way to put it is a city council race, a bunch of city council races all over these battleground states at the national level. Yes, we had a message that we were going to give that was national. Yes, we had digital and other communications that we were putting out there that were national. But at the end of the day, we were trying to empower people